Welcome to toy-polloi.
Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi. Today we're going to take a look at restoring this vintage Mego 1970s Dr. Zaius from Planet of the Apes. Now this figure doesn't look like it needs a huge amount of work, but there are a few issues that I'm hoping that I can fix. The main ones being on the outfit. As you can see that a lot of the outfits started to sort of come undone. There's threads everywhere and there's a whole row of stitching on the arms that's come undone. If I just carefully pull up the stripe down the side, you can see that the stitching has come away from about half of it on this left side, and if I look on the right side then it's all come away, so all of that needs re-sewing. There's also a few marks on this outfit. There's a bit of green down here on his trousers, and he's missing his boots. He also has a very wide stance at the moment. If I try and stand him up, you can see his legs are really quite wide apart, so I'm hoping that we could be able to fix that a bit. So the first thing we want to do is we'll take his outfit off and see what the figure is like underneath. I haven't actually looked at this figure yet. It came in with a whole selection of stuff donated by Scott Greer a little while back, and this figure I just sort of took out of the box and didn't actually look at the rest of it, so we'll see what it's like inside. So you can see the top is not in bad condition. It's just the stitching come loose. There's lots of loose threads that all need sort of tidying up, and actually one of the poppers is starting to come loose on the back there, so that will need fixing. The trousers don't appear to have any poppers on them, so it's just a good case of a good clean on those. If we can actually get those off. Looks like they're sort of caught around his knee. There's a bit of elastic there, so we can hopefully pull those off. Actually, it's pulling all of his legs off. These are pretty awkward to get off, these trousers. They seem to have wanted to sort of catch on the knee joint there. There we go. Yeah, those really don't want to come off. That's fine. And then we get to the figure, and I can't really see why this is sort of pulling his legs in so much. It's strung in the usual way. I can see there the string is going round, but it does seem that maybe it's just a little bit too tight, which is pulling those in. The figure itself is in reasonable condition. I can't see any problems at all with that. It just needs a thorough clean. So this is going to be a fairly straightforward restoration. I think it's mainly just going to be the outfit that needs fixing. We'll find some replacement boots, and this figure just needs a good clean, and I'll see if I can work out how we can stop his legs being pulled in a bit, but otherwise let's get straight on and we will clean this outfit. For cleaning both the outfit and the figure, I'm just going to use some hot soapy water and just a little bit of dish soap and gently wash out the stains. There don't appear to be too many stains on this, so I'm hoping that will wash them out pretty easily. And then once they're washed, I'm going to rinse them thoroughly to make sure there's no soap left at all in the fabric, because that can sort of rot the fabric over the years. So make sure they're fully rinsed out, and then just give them time to dry. Likewise with the figure, I'm just going to use a toothbrush and a little bit of hot soapy water to sort of there's a sort of fair amount of dirt ingrained in the hair, so that should be able to loosen that. The toothbrush will help sort of pick those bits of dirt out. Just give it a full clean, and then we can start sewing this all back together. Now that everything has had time to dry, we can take a look and see how clean it came up. As you can see, the head turned out really nice. All of the dirt that sort of ground into the little sort of hair sculpt there has come out, and the face looks really nice. It doesn't look like there's anything needed doing on this face. There's no paint touch-ups, but if you do have paint that needs repairing on your Dr. Zaius, then check out some of my previous videos, and I've shown a lot how I do the repairs on that. And the outfit, well, the trousers that did have a few little stains on the bottom of them, those all seem to have gone. Those look really nice. There's almost no loose threads on there, just a couple of little ones. So I've got a pair of scissors here just to carefully snip off any loose threads. Now the jacket, obviously this has come up pretty clean as well, but there's quite a few threads loose. If I sort of show you the end here, you can see there's quite a few little bits sort of hanging off. Again, I'm just going to trim these carefully away just with a small pair of scissors, just to sort of tidy everything up and make it look a bit neater before we go ahead and actually do the sewing on this. It makes it easier to see what you're doing if you don't have all these threads sort of hanging about. And most of it's just the sort of the edge of the fabric sort of coming undone. There's not really many threads hanging loose. So you can see inside where they sew these things together, there's a lot of sort of loose ends of things, and we can just carefully nip those down. Makes it just a little bit easier to work on the rest of the sort of fabric once it's tidied up like this. And you can see here, this on this arm, again there's quite a few sort of loose ends, and this is the area that we're going to sort of deal with in a second. And then that's the main thread that seems to have come undone there. You can see that tidies it up quite quickly, just getting rid of those. I think that's probably about enough. Now we can get on with sewing the bits that have come undone. And now we come on to probably the trickiest bit for me, which is sewing this stripe back down the arms. As you can see, it's come undone on one side, the other side is still sewn in place. And I'm not the greatest of sewers, but I still think I should be able to sew that back on reasonably well. What I've done is actually put a pen inside the arm, just so that it sort of holds it in shape. And I found some cotton in Mrs. Toy-Polloi's sewing box, which is a fairly good match for the brown of the fabric. I'm just going to very carefully sew along this edge. I've got a little bit to do on the other side as well. The other one's only about half sort of come undone, but I think I should be able to do it. So first up, I've just got to sort of catch this thread on. I've put a knot at one end of it, like so. And then I'm going to really try my hardest to get a nice neat line, but as I say, my sewing is not the greatest, but I'm hoping the pen should help me be able to sort of catch both bits of the fabric, and I'll go along. Obviously this was done with a machine in the first place, but I'm going to be doing this by hand. Oops. And there you go, that's it sewn back on. Now some people might say, why go to the effort of doing that? And the reason is because you don't want it to come undone any more than it already is. And if you leave it, chances are more of this will come sort of unsewn. But just by sort of doing a few little stitches on there, you can see that stopped it. You can actually see now the thread that's the original thread there. And I'm going to very carefully remove that. I should be able to get these scissors under and just snip. If I snip a couple of those, we can then pull that out, because you don't really want to see the sort of the undone part of this thread coming through, because it sort of gives the game away that you've fixed it. So just a careful bit of snipping there, you can see, and once you've done that you can then pull out the old thread, and I'll just do that, and then I can fix the other side as well. Actually, you can see that comes out pretty easily, just hooking it with the scissors, and we can trim that off. There you go, and that sort of hides the fact that this has been re-sewn. So we can do exactly the same on the other side, but you can see this one's only sort of come undone about halfway down, so I'm just going to use the same colour thread that I've used previously. Just do that through and just do one little stitch there at the top, and then we can work our way down, just doing to the bit that's come undone really. So that's the costume all done. Now I've had a quick look at why these legs are so splayed, and I think it really is just that the sort of rough surface that they put on the ball joint here has worn away, and that's what's used to sort of keep the legs together. So I don't think there's a lot I can do to sort of get them to stay sort of out, and it's just the way these things are designed. This is a type 1 body, so it's got a bit of elastic that goes around the inside and is pulling everything taut, and the way the elastic is sort of pulls these legs apart, and those little rough bits should hold everything firmly together, but I don't think it's going to make too much difference to this. So let's get him dressed, and then we can look at replacing the boots that he is missing and complete this Dr. Zaius. So we can just put his trousers back on. Now these were pretty awkward to get off in the first place. I'm hoping they're a bit easier to pull on. Nope, they're still pretty awkward. The elastic in them is incredibly good considering it's so old. Normally the elastic sort of rots away, but on these they seem really quite tight and a good fit. So you can see those fit quite nicely, and then we can put his jumper on, or jacket, whatever you want to call that. And if there are any more sort of loose threads that become apparent when we put this together, we can sort of trim those off, but I think I managed to get most of those. And the press stud actually wasn't loose, it just looked it, so I didn't need to do any sewing on that. So there you go, that's his outfit back together, and that already looks quite a lot cleaner. Now for the boots, I've done some research and it turns out that there are two types of boots that this figure wore. The very first release of him had the normal sort of black hero boots, and the later releases had some much fancier boots with sort of hieroglyphics and pattern sort of printed all over them. And I tried to get some originals, but obviously originals are quite hard to find. So I went on to dr.mego's website, and looking at the prices on there, you can buy a pair of hero boots, which are these plain black ones, for a few dollars. And he does also sell the proper boots, which are, you know, with all the hieroglyphics and stuff on them, but those were $15, and I really didn't think that was a sort of justifiable price to spend on doing this restoration. So I've just bought the hero boots because I'm hoping at some point to find some original ones, and so I don't really want to spend a huge amount of money buying some expensive reproduction ones. And I think, to be honest, these will do just the job. They look pretty good when they're in place, and so this just looks like it's a first issue version of Dr. Zaius. So here we go, this is my finished restored Dr. Zaius. Now sometimes restorations don't need to be that complicated. If you've watched my channel before, you'll see a lot of the restorations I show have a lot of work goes into them. But a restoration like this, where there isn't that much to the figure to start with, doesn't have to be that complicated. Really, this was just a case of cleaning the figure, cleaning the outfit, doing a few little repairs to the outfit where the stitching has come undone, and then finding some replacement bits like the boots there. So it's a fairly simple restoration, but it's still worth doing. As you can see, the figure ends up looking really nice, and just by cleaning the outfit you can make something look much better than it did when you first picked it up. So again, I want to say a massive thanks to Scott Greer, who very kindly sent me this Dr. Zaius. As you can see, he looks lovely, and he's back in a restored state and going to go on display here at toy-polloi. So I hope this video has been of interest to you, and thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching toy-polloi. Subscribe for more great videos. You can also follow toy-polloi on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.